SPL Gatekeepers falling down to Flashpoint. Moving on, we're going to see Quignitas versus their opposition, Noble. My name's Tom, and I'm joined here by my friend Anatoly. How you doing today?
Pretty good. We saw a long first game opening here for the North American relegation. Second game in so far. I'm really curious to see how this Challenger Cup team this time is going to face against the SPL team.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting as we take a look at the schedule here. Noble will play 2 games in a row, one versus Quignitas, the challengers, and then one versus Flashpoint, who have reinvented themselves with a new roster, looking so incredible against what is considered the favorites in a lot of people's eyes, the Gatekeepers, formerly known as Oxygen Supremacy.
Sometimes that's all it really takes, is just to get some fresh faces into the scene, into your team, to be able to refigure out the team chemistry and figure out what works for you guys in the long run.
Yeah, you got to figure out how everything really comes together cohesively, and we'll see if that's going to be the case. Teams fighting for their position in the Smite Pro League right here. We have the 2 bottom of the Pro League and the 2 top of the Challenger Circuit, if you're unfamiliar with the way our relegation systems will work. So we'll get into game in just a moment, or at least picks and bans. We got to do that one first. So we'll see how these teams really decide to rock. New players all around. Copebby is going to be in the jungle here on the side of Noble, and Aquarius making the transition from Flashpoint over to the black and gold. It should be interesting. Quignitas, however, right away ban out Fafnir.
No surprise really to ban away this Guardian away from Noble Esports. Wubbn is one of these guys that wants to be aggressive and in your face. Not normally known for his Fafnir, more on the lines of the Sobek play, but either way, he's looking to make the plays any single chance, and which is why Noble try to prioritize Wubbn's pick first.
Chunga going to be banned out by Noble Esports. Pretty standard coming out there. Quignitas, second ban coming up soon here. Thinking about it, and it'll be Robin, a selection that has recently driven up the ranks. He'll be the jungle of choice for a lot of players, but not in this game. Noble Esports, they get their last ban of the first phase here, and the option to them decides to go.
We're about to find out. It's going to be the Terra. With Fafnir banned, Noble doesn't want the other Guardian of choice. A lot of global pressure out of that Guardian, a lot of control between the root and the stun. Very obnoxious to really deal with, as well as the utility from that ultimate, but leaving behind the Cernunnos for Quignitas. Fearno is going to be playing that Hunter role.
Right, the Cernunnos very, very strong at the moment. Again, I mentioned it last game, not just because of his basic attacks and everything that he has on his first ability, the Chaining of Seasons, but also his control of the team fights. 2-second crowd control with no diminishing returns, very, very big deal. Plus the root, very strong. Khepri will be the Guardian of choice for Wubbn, however, on Noble Esports, and their second selection will be the Bellona, likely to be in the solo lane, but of course a little bit of wiggle room, can play jungle.
Aquarius is one of these guys in the solo lane that wants to be aggressive. Surprisingly enough, not going for the Osiris, a little bit more aggression in that terms, but Bellona is a very safe pick. Doesn't really have any losing matchups.
That's the key.
And that's exactly. You just don't want to lose your lane more than you want to win it.
Susano, one of the most powerful gods in the jungle here for Quignitas, will be the selection. And the last choice for Quig as they finish up their first phase of picks coming up soon. With the Cernunnos and Susano paired up with the Athena, just a lot of control and a decent amount of damage as well.
And it's going to be dependent on the mid-mage coming out of Quignitas, how the Susano and Athena will work hand in hand between the mid-jungle support. So far between this Athena and Susano, granted this Athena could be in that solo lane position. Not normally something we see a lot in Season 4, but that's still a viable option.
Cupid will be the hunter of choice for Noble Esports. Now, we have seen some Cupid play in the mid lane, so don't write that off just yet, but likely it's going to be a Cupid and Khepri lane. Wowy has really shown how strong he can be on this Cupid, one of his go-to selections when he really wants to dominate, so really expecting to see that character wind up on the long side. Ra, the first ban of the second phase for Noble Esports, will be matched with a Thanatos ban as well. Cope does have a strong executor, so we'll see him take it out. The last ban for Noble Esports, focusing more on the mid lane most likely, and it will be the Kukulkan.
The heavy burst mage is taken away by Noble Esports, respecting the fact of the control between Susano and Athena is just too high at this point in the early draft phase. So taking away the Ra and the Kukulkan, there's still a lot of other options. Obviously, you have your Poseidons, you have your Scyllas. There's a lot of burst damage with the Vulcan as well. So not really too worried for Quignitas. It's going to be ManRay playing that mid lane for him. And he's been known to run a lot of Vulcan also.
Right, a lot of Vulcan, a lot of other choices, to be honest with you. So I'm very curious to see where ManRay decides to go. Second to last option for Noble Esports here. They select likely to be a jungler. And it will be their mid lane instead. Soul, one more selection. Looks like she's coming back. People are aware that some changes don't necessarily mean gone.
Now, Sol is one of these gods that has a little bit of a hybrid flex. You can either run her as a traditional hunter, get attack speed, get the Fatalis, or you can run her as a mage and rely on heavy magic power to scale off of her abilities. That Supernova and the Stellar Burst is going to do a lot of damage in that mid to late game form, so
Right.
you're really looking for that oomph in those team fights.
Yeah, Soul, I think, more powerful when built as a mage these days, but there's that Vulcan you were talking about. And Vulcan against Soul is interesting because Stellar Burst will take out the wave and the turret as well, so Vulcan likely not to max that turret anytime soon. But the Naja selection out of Noble Esports, that's going to be Cope on Naja. We've seen him play this Naja before in the past. Love the matchup going into the mid lane against the Vulcan specifically, the ability to take characters out of the game. I really like Naja, but he has suffered a little bit in this meta.
I agree. There's normally more setup potential for Naja, but where's the true damage from Noble after the Naja comes back from the ultimate, right? Soul can just lay down the Supernova, but that takes a little bit of extra tick, so by that time, you can proc your beats Aegis afterwards to negate a lot of that damage. But Naja is a god that's coming back into the meta because of the recent changes to that ring bounce. You get one extra ring bounce, and that alone is why we see some more Naja by some of these competitive players.
There's also going to be a lot of control from Wowy on the bottom, but I want to point out the fact that we kind of just glossed over. We're going to have a solo Hun Batz here. Giliara selected the jungle Susano, and then there was a Hun Batz selected. And these are characters that are so, rooted in their position. Now, of course, I say that, and yes, the Poppies made it to the SPL playing a hunter role Susano. So I guess it's time to shake things up. IFates taking the monkey into the short lane. What does Hun Batz bring out of the solo?
It's all about teamfight pressure control. You're not going to be winning your lane, which is why we see no sort of lane control coming out of Giliara or Face, negating that whole wave just to ensure that Giliara is not going to get invaded in the speed buff, but losing this wave is going to be a pretty big factor in the gold department. Not going to invade the blue buff despite the solo lane of Quignitas having to deal with that wave.
Left side, pretty standard starts. We're going to see the wave and then the invade coming out from MLC and Wubbn. And they're going to be able to go ahead and take out this mid lane, no problem. ManRay playing very safe here in the early minutes of this game.
Having to play safe whenever your jungler is not next to him, relying on the 1v2, and Vulcan is one of these gods that can easily do so because of the backfire cooldown just being so short, especially once you level it up a little further, increasing the damage and decreasing the cooldown.
4 goals here, prioritized by the guys on Quignitas. And they'll be able to just barely confirm it. Big trouble from Wubbn. Now, ManRay, we've seen him sort of run around the second tier of the Challenger Cup. Never really number 1, but never really number last either. IFates has shown up here and there, and Fearno, most notably the substitute for the enemy team that wound up coming very close to winning World Championship a number of years ago and hanging out with that team for a long time. Now stepping away from the shadows and trying to make a look for himself.
Both of these players between Fearno and ManRay making a name for themselves. They've both been on the grind very recently, and ManRay has had some opportunities recently to try to get a little bit higher on, and if his team can perform well today, we're going to see him in the SPL.
Yeah, it's going to be a very good look for Fearno. He's a smart player. I remember talking to him a lot last year at DreamHack over in Sweden, and just has a lot of different takes on how to play the lane, how to play the game, and how to play objectives specifically. So seeing him come out on his own, I'm really excited to see what he can do outside of that substitute role.
And being the former substitute out of Enemy back in the day, he's had a lot of leadership learning capabilities from Paint the Beyond, as well as a lot of smart coming out of Chaos. And that's a good group of players to really learn from and then bring that into the battlefield.
So this IFates matchup versus Aquarius. Aquarius already level 5 versus Fates is 4. We mentioned before that the monkey likely not to win this lane specifically. But coming into it, when are we going to see these rotations out of Hun Batz to really make it worthwhile?
Depends what he wants to build. If he's going to go for Transcendence to get that physical power, then he's going to be sitting in this lane for quite a long time to stack that up. But otherwise, if he's going to be going for a different route, then he'll probably rotate as soon as he can. If there's any sort of action in the mid lane, Fates will immediately go for it.
So that's what I was going to be interested to see, is that overhand smash winds up doing a lot of damage, and Fates over here just being able to hit 2 and clear the wave with a little bit of help after the fact. I mean, he's going to have the clear to compete with Bellona, no problem, totally. So, I mean, early he's going to lose the lane, but I think he's going to be able to dance.
Absolutely. Once that overhand smash does get maxed out, it's going to be a lot shorter of a cooldown, but currently Bellona could just use that bludgeon straight up in front of the Hunbat's face and guarantee a lot of damage, especially during the channel time of the overhand smash, if timed correctly.
Yeah, there's a lot of hang time, right, when you're doing overhand smash, so got to be careful with that one. Right now, all things even here in our early game. Nobody really looking to play too aggressively. I wouldn't consider either of these teams super late game oriented, but still content with letting the early game do their thing.
Absolutely. Still not really looking forward to any sort of aggression either side, despite having very aggressive junglers. Cope playing this Naja, Giliara playing the Susano, and there's going to be a lot of rotation soon once that speed buff is going to be used into full effect, especially with the passive of Susano getting extra mobility. So once these jungle camps get cleared out faster, he's going to be ping-ponging between point A and point B that much faster.
Fearno going to walk out of the Cupid ult. Sorry, Wowy. Just walks out of the Cupid ult, no problem.
Sometimes you just use it to force the beads or like maybe a counter ultimate, but it wasn't well positioned enough to catch him dead center inside that ultimate. A lot of players will even go wing play, not for the hunters, but some supports, just to negate the slow out of that ultimate to be able to walk away from it.
Well, it's a huge pool, right? You're hitting a whole team fight with the Cupid ult, so got to be careful of that. And that's kind of what I was thinking about with respects to the Naja. What goes up must come down, and if it goes down to the Cupid ult, he's not getting out of there. MLC Stealth certainly getting out of that one, however. Able to get out of there, no problem with Dissipate.
Taking a little bit of damage, having to back to base. That could allow potential rotation in this dual lane coming out of Quignitas, but instead elected to just ping-pong and content with farming, not wanting to pull the trigger quite yet. Vulcan on ManRay elected to go for a very safe and long build, but in the soul lane, there's nothing safe about this gank.
1, 2, and 3. Fates is going to come down and fall all the way down. The rotation out of Genocide, thanks to the ultimate, not going to be enough. Cope starts the game off nice and hot with an ultimate confirming first blood. Noble on top.
Despite having Mark of the Vanguard, it wasn't enough damage mitigation on top of the Defender of Olympus to survive that initial gank. Batz is not known for his high base health pool, which is why he relies on himself playing in that jungle role, having a huge amount of burst damage. Now, as soon as Fates can get to that level 10, 12 position, his overhand smash is going to get maxed out, and that is a very short cooldown once it is maxed out. It's an 8-second cooldown, whereas Bludgeon, on the other hand, at all ranks is 10 seconds. So going to favor out Fates once he does get level 9.
Is able to dance back and forth with those abilities. Certainly a good look. Genocide covers the wave for a little bit, waiting for his monkey to come back alive. Trouble on the left side. That time, Fearno's got to use his beads, and he'll find himself safely underneath the tower. But definitely using that relic.
And Cope's going to recognize this all the time around. Now
Beautiful
using the
ult.
ultimate. Fates doing a lot of damage. Overhand smash not used quite yet. Eagle's Rally is available, so Aquarius can easily outplay Fates if he positions it correctly.
Yeah, that ultimate interrupting the bludgeon. Smart choice right there. And Giliara with the defensive ultimate saving his hunter. Fearno will head back to base, but he'll head back to base on his own terms rather than the gank that we thought Noble was going to achieve.
A lot of defensive ultimates from Quignitas in this last 30 seconds. Noble still having about 4 of their ultimates to be able to maybe go for something around that dual lane side. We see the Oracles are about to respawn. Gold Fury hasn't been touched yet by either side, and that Portal Demon Fire Jump is going to respawn here, or spawn for the first time in 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, a little bit close, but I don't know if teams are going to go for it just yet. Oracle's respawning. Noble right in position. Now, I expect these teams to really start ramping things up relatively soon. They're mid-game compositions for the most part.
Yes, ManRay having Book of Thoth, doesn't have boots completed quite yet. He's trying to get those stacks for the extra mana, get the extra power going online as well. And a Vulcan that has a lot of mana pool, he's just going to spam that backfire and meatball. It's such a short cooldown. Not only that, if you hit enemy gods, you're going to be getting that 15% movement speed and 15 MP5 off of his passive.
I would have liked to see Naja pay more attention to ManRay. He still doesn't have boots.
Absolutely. Without that mobility, it's very easy for any jungler, not necessarily Naja, but not only that. If you look at the specific matchup, Naja versus Vulcan, you just ring bounce off of the turret every single time. You were talking about how Stellar Burst can take out the wave and the turret, but there's even more tools for Noble to take advantage.
Yeah, Copebby's going to show up in the mid lane for what seems like the first time and just get taunted into some damage. This is a matchup that, yeah, Naja, you're supposed to abuse this. Why would Noble opt to play it safe here? Why are we not seeing the aggression?
Well, it's also a risk versus reward because ManRay hasn't positioned himself too aggressively outside his tier 1 tower. He was left alone 1v2 for a majority of the game because both junglers wanted to play really aggressive around that solo lane, invading the blue buff earlier on. Didn't really successfully steal it, but had that pressure to be able to push the wave under the tower. So respecting the fact that, yeah, ManRay is a vulnerable target, but there are also other vulnerable targets in the early game against Quignitas.
Coming up onto 10 minutes here, folks. Nice, easy pace for this one. Gremlins going the way of Aquarius. A lot of work from Genocide all over the map right now. Kind of every time we look at engagement, there's the Athena. Trying to make things happen, but really no full commitment from anybody here on the map.
Not quite, yeah. Still hasn't really been paired up with the Vulcan and the Susano because of the lack of boots from ManRay, but now that he has that completed, we could see some more action coming out of Genocide.
Well, there's the action out of the Hunter. Wowy drops the ultimate more defensively than offensively, trying to save the life of his jungler, Copebby, who, again, picked up first blood and hasn't really done much of anything.
Well, forced out the shell coming out of Genocide. It's a long cooldown, about 125 seconds remaining versus about the 75 on the Cupid ultimate. Not too much action, or at least kill confirmation. Noble got the one first blood in that solo lane, but now Cope making the slight rotation. Now wanting to take the Athena support into the sky, having a decent amount of help with that tier 2 Gauntlet of Thieves.
Yeah, I think it would have been fine. It was more about the follow-up that I think Cope was concerned about. Once he comes down, he's ready to get hit by whoever's there, likely ManRay.
2 defensive ultimates in that solo lane, just afraid of Cope on this Naja. Despite not committing to these plays, he makes his presence known every side of the map.
Giliara is putting MLC in a bad spot. Able to go ahead and get away with it, but to the sky. ManRay gets taken there. Down he comes, and he's going to get out of there with a kill of his own. The turnaround for the mid lane Vulcan. ManRay puts down Cope.
The Typhoon from Giliara was just waiting on the ground once Cope landed, instantly knocking up the Naja jungler. Couldn't really find the continuation, and that's the one problem with Naja. Once you commit into the ultimate, granted, you do set up a lot of plays for your teammates, but you're also basically the one bullseye target for the enemy team to target you once you land.
Which is why I was asking for the commitment earlier. Naja does really well in these one-man ganks when there's not a team fight going on, and you're able to really do that the earlier the game is. You can find those cheeky kills when it's just you, your teammate, and their opponent in lane, 2-on-1. Once it starts getting into team fights, you have to be a little bit more creative with what you do, a little bit more careful with your ultimates, and if you're not, well, we just saw what happens.
Absolutely. Have to be so careful about the control coming out of Quignitas. This Athena-Susano combination can set up so many easy backfire meatballs coming out of ManRay's Vulcan, and that's probably why one reason Cope was neglecting the mid wave for a majority of the game, afraid of that damage potential from the Vulcan, relying on some of the vision from his team to see what holes he can really exploit.
Well, right now we're seeing kind of a nice back and forth. IFates goes right for the aggressive jump. Not going to be a bad thing for him, however, just yet, but still Aquarius just going right for the fight.
It's very easy to try to look for these trades, especially on the side of Aquarius. Now, IFates does have a shorter cooldown on his overhand smash, but the damage has just been not there. That Iron Mail coming out of Aquarius, that's going to be that Mystical Mail, has been working very effectively despite IFates finishing off that Breastplate of Valor. So now he's going to have even shorter of a cooldown on that overhand smash. It's going to be actually 6.4 seconds.
Right now, still going in the direction of Aquarius, though. I like how IFates is jumping over the hammer coming out from the Bellona player, so he understands this oddball matchup that is a Batz versus Bellona, but he's really able to do it. And we can see the build path coming out, the Breastplate of Valor. So likely, unless this next item is Transcendence, I don't think we're going to see it.
Nah, it's a little bit too late to go for Transcendence. Yeah. Team fights are about to happen any minute now, and sitting in lane to get those 50 stacks, you're sacrificing about 3 to 4 minutes of farming time, and if you're not going to be in those team fights without the Fearno Evil,
exactly.
Quignitas are not going to be having a good time.
Yeah, so right now we're going to see something different Maybe the Glad Shield.
That's what it's looking like, actually. It could either be that. We could also see the Shifter Shield. Could see the Void Shield specifically, because that extra penetration aura will also synergize very well with Giliara whenever they dive that backline.
I love Shifter Shield as an item. Perhaps a little bit too expensive to buy on the regular, but I think it really is just excellent. When you're healthy, you get more damage. When you're in trouble, you get some help. I think it's a sweet item. Bates, see which direction he opts to go with this itemization choice. Wants to go right back in. Avoids the disarm right there, but Aquarius, unconcerned.
He has maxed out Scourge. There's nothing to be worried about, but a lot to be worried about on the left-hand side as Cope having to use that ultimate defensively.
Oh, there's the ultimate out of the Cupid. That's offensive as hell. Giliara is going to be able to walk away, and that's that. No hard commit. Instead, Noble want to not commit on the Gold Fury either. These teams just aren't doing anything.
No, not quite yet. ManRay still holding on to his ultimate. That Earth Shatter is going to be doing a lot of damage. Don't forget MLC Stealth with that Supernova having to have a lot of objective control. So both mid-mages having to be respected before the Gold Fury really gets flirted with, making sure that that target's out of the equation either by killing them or just by straight up getting them out of the teamfight, forcing them back to base.
So right now, when we look at Noble Esports, they recently walked away from their solo and jungler. When it came down to it, Uzi and Chapo just weren't a fit for the culture of this team. Aquarius and Cope, we'll see how that works out as it's concerned behind the scenes. But right here up front, how do you feel that they're fitting in with the rest of the guys on Noble?
Well, I don't know what they're talking about behind the scenes, but so far in 15 minutes of play in their first game in relegations, it hasn't been the worst thing in the world. They found an early first blood off of Cope's rotation. They couldn't really find that secondary win in that teamfight in the mid lane because of how much counter-engage Quignitas had once Cope landed down, but the communication seems to be on point. Everybody's making the rotations that they need to. The question remains is how well can they engage in these teamfights and protect their backline once it starts?
We'll see if that's going to be something to be concerned about. Mystical Mail already finished for the Bellona. So the slow ticks here in the solo lane to match the vibe of the game right now. 16 minutes or just shy of it. 1 kill to 1 kill. Everything all even here. As teams fighting for their SPL spot want to play very, very carefully. One mistake could lead to disaster.
Absolutely. So both teams not wanting to take any sort of unnecessary risks. There's always risks involved in making any play, but you want to make the most calculated play possible. And after clearing this wave on the left-hand side, Wubbn and Wowy has the slight timing window to be able to rotate, and there goes the Gold Furies being started.
Yeah, this is going to be one of the first big plays of the game here. 50% of the Gold Fury with the ultimate out of the Cupid, but here's the rotation out of Genocide. Popped early, Gold Fury goes the way of Noble, and they're gonna walk away safe and sound. Fates wants to change that. Ultimate comes down, has help from Athena. Might be trouble for Wubbn, but that be that. Quignitas come up too short, and Noble Esports able to confirm the kill on the Gold Fury.
Wubbn not even having to expend his own ultimate on himself. Still available in this team fight, but with the Gold Fury being down, that opens up the Portal Demon as a lot of ultimates were used by Noble trying to get that Gold Fury. So getting back 750 gold on the side of Quignitas, about a 1800 gold lead for the Chaos squad.
Nice damage on the Genocide, but no follow-up as Quig pick up a little bit for themselves. Still trailing by over 1,000, so that's a good look if you're a Noble fan at home. Still able to maintain the lead that they've gotten so far. 45 minutes was our last contest. Do you think this one's going to go that late?
I mean, the way the game has been currently playing, it could just take one team fight into a deicide. You never really know how these team fights are going to pan out, but if I were to guess, this might be a long game currently. All it took, though, was one wave on the left-hand side to be able to start that Gold Fury. Mid was slightly out of position as well on the side of ManRay, not able to really steal that one away. And Noble, they get it, the first Gold Fury around the 16.5-minute mark successfully.
Noble grouping up here on the right side, looking to catch somebody out of position in the jungle. Genocide might be that guy, but playing it safe here. Oh, the blink over the wall from Cope, looking for Gilly. He's going to be able to get out of there, no problem. Cope, however, holds the ultimate intelligently, so he will have that Windfire Wheels available. That's the name of Naja's ult.
It's all about the mind games. It doesn't matter if you're playing Naja or any Guardian. Sometimes it's very easy to tell when that big ultimate cooldown is going to be used, or even the threat of it is going to be used. Having to use the beads, it's better to play safe than sorry.
Right, yeah, I mean, he forces out the beads right there. And that's a play option play. That's what's it called? A hit confirm, right? You go in with the sash. If they hit beads, you just walk away and take the win. If they don't, you ult them and you go for the kill, right? You just got to judge it. In that moment, your reaction time has to be really high, you know, looking towards the world of fighting game players, right? You confirm that first hit of the combo, you can continue on. If not, you got to keep on, you got to walk away and try again later.
He's got to keep on keeping on, but Wubbn going to get taunted into a little bit of damage. The ultimate from Wowy being used defensively, not too much engage as Cupid MLC Stealth were around those Harpies, not close enough to the action. So having to use that ultimate out of Wowy, without that cripple field, Giliara can now go in very safely, relying on that jet stream pull and then Storm Kata just to get away.
Fearno building into the Fatalis after the Rage here. I like the selection. We'll see if you can get some stacks on that Rage right now. Looks like a poor choice of itemization since nobody's actually killing anybody. Rage kind of working the way of the defensive item with I'm drawing a blank here. Tully, help me.
Well, what item are you talking about here?
The stacking defensive item that helps both sides, magical and physical. Chat spamming it right
Hide
now.
of the Urchin?
Hide of the Urchin.
Gotcha.
I was thinking Mark of the Unicorn, which is a completely different conversation.
Unicorn. I mean, that could be the new nickname.
Well, so it was the U that got me, okay? Mark of the Unicorn, Hide of the Urchin is an item that, like, when you're battling a lot, first of all, you want to buy both of these items early. So I'm not lamenting the choice of Rage third item, but these have been low kill fights. So you only need 5, though.
Yes.
You only need 5.
And once you get those 5 stacks, you get an additional 10%
it blows up.
crit. So you're going to go from 20% crit up until 35%. So that's a pretty big margin of crit, only having to spend 2,400 gold for this item.
Yeah, like I said, my only concern is the fact that it has been a slow-paced game. When, if ever, will he get those 5 stacks? So it is kills or assists, so there is that.
Should be relatively quickly here as the Gold Fury will respawn in 40 seconds. And with more items and more levels comes more damage. And it's going to be hard for some players to stay alive, especially with a lot of bursts coming out of all of these players. So one single engage is all it's going to take to find some stacks on that Rage.
Fates under zone tower was the Gladiator shield that we saw come out from the solo lane Hun Batz. That's right, the solo lane Hun Batz. What a strange selection. And I just don't... I feel like if you're going to go the solo lane Hun Batz, which I actually don't hate, I kind of like it, but I feel like if you're going to go this direction where you have Susano and a Fearno Evil, the 10 to 15 minute mark should just be, I guess the 12 to 17 minute mark should just be war all the time.
Absolutely. Hun Batz in the solo lane is all about making that rotations and relying on that Fearno Evil, disrupting the team fight instead of the Eagles rally, but not able to really make an impact in these engages. Aquarius is going to get taunted in. Not too much damage. Stellar Burst slightly off the mark.
Have they been too careful, Tony?
It could have also been that initial game from Cope that really disrupted the flow that Fates really wanted to make by making those rotations. That's all it takes sometimes is, you know, you died that one time, now you're going to have to start warding around your side of the map because you're worried about getting ganked the second time. And without that gold, you're going to be behind some items, and then you're slacking, and then the enemy's making those rotations before you are.
It could be another number of ripples, but I feel like we're playing more Noble's game than Quignitas' game for sure. Although neither of these teams really exactly coming through with the hyper late game. There's no Kali or Frey in the game, right? No. We're not waiting on either side for the champion to come and save us. Both these teams are definitely mid-game teams, but as I said, Quignitas probably the team that wanted to get online or make things happen a little bit sooner. And just not seeing that, unfortunately, for them and their fans.
Especially considering the two difference of styles in the solo lane. In the late game, Aquarius is going to have slightly more control with that slow, whereas Fates doesn't want to use his jump to utilize that slow, whereas Aquarius, he wants to be in the thick of things. And that, Gold Fury, though, second one of the game. This time, it's going to go to Quignitas.
Easy! Nice shot and coming out from Quignitas to take what was a large 2,500 gold lead and bring it down to about 1,800. So a good look for Quignitas. Calculated. Just one step at a time for our teams here. 23 minutes in, folks. Things tied up 1-1, and the gold separated by just shy of 2,000. So nice and even here.
Noble still not looking like they want to go for that Portal Demon. This is something that Quignitas took advantage of last time around. Whenever that Portal Demon is available, you're only going to be utilizing it whenever the enemy team expends too many ultimates on the Gold Fury. But only ManRay really committed his own ultimate. That could still be the telltale sign that Noble needs to use to take advantage and win this next team fight.
Quignitas have been very successful over there in the challenger scene. They've changed things here and there. Most notably, as you said, ManRay in this mid lane position. We've seen ManRay come up before and play for relegations, ultimately not making it into the SPL. But he's a very vocal player of the challenger scene. And I'm eager to see if his gameplay will stand up to his legacy.
Still a lot of boxing in the solo lane. Aquarius having a lot of attack speed with that Shogun's Kusari. The passive got changed recently to go from 10% attack speed to you and your allies up to 25%.
Huge.
And utilizing that bonus with the Frostbound Hammer, he's able to really win a lot of exchanges, especially getting that health return off of the third hit off of the Scourge proc.
Shogun's Kusari, one of my more preferred items, and a hot miss from Copebby.
Still making the attempt though. This is the point where Naja does a lot of damage. Level 17, so you're having a level 4 ultimate. A lot of penetration with the form of the Jotun and the Titan's Bane. Starting up the Portal Demon though, Quignitas feeling very frisky.
And here comes the rest of Noble, but with a shot over the top, Portal Demon goes the way of Noble, no problem. Fearno forced into the beads, and here comes help from Aquarius. Looking for the hammer, looking for the kill, and there it is. Aquarius picks up the portal and the Hunter player. Wowy takes out Fates as well. What looked to be a Quignitas shot on the fire portal goes the way of Noble. Not only does Noble steal away the objective, they take 2 players off of the map, and they're looking for the big guy himself. Nobody from Quig can even stop this. The Vulcan ultimate's on cooldown, Toli.
It was actually used trying to secure that Portal Demon, but it wasn't enough. Stealth actually managed to steal that one away with his Supernova, and that was a very risky call by Quignitas to go for the Portal Demon with that Vulcan ultimate. Not having that big cooldown for this team fight,
yeah.
It's no surprise, honestly, that Noble was able to win it so convincingly, especially with Aquarius doing such a good job zoning, forcing out the Aegis out of Fearno, and then ManRay having to retreat under that tier 2 tower. And if you take away those meatballs, to take away that turret, that's a lot of DPS away from Quignitas.
Tier 1 tower just melts. Wowy here on the Cupid, able to provide a ton of damage. MLC on the Soul also going to do the same. Giliara tried to push on the left side, but his split push will be shut down thanks to the teleport of Aquarius. And Noble Esports finally blowing this one open. 6,000 gold in the lead. And just 3 kills to 1. 26 minutes in here, folks. And Noble Esports have the ball.
And something I actually also didn't mention to synergize with the Shogun's Kusari in the late game is you have that Soul on MLC Stealth, which is going to benefit quite highly off of the attack speed, trying to maximize that potential heat, getting increased magical power, increased attack speed, and the teamfight presence with Wubbn on the Rising Dawn to mitigate that damage. Noble has everything on lockdown.
Yeah, I think correct is such a harsh word in Smite. I think the correct way, the optimal way to build Soul is Mage. Forget about the rings, forget about the attack speed, and then when your teammate can build the Kusari, well, you're just adding icing onto the cake. Ultimate out of Wowy to prevent the double taunt from being too problematic. And that's going to be a good look here, 50% or so on the Fire Phoenix. And the push in from Noble Esports looks to be fruitful. In fact, Woman picks up Giliara. Aquarius to the back line. There is no front line for Noble Esports. That is a problem for Quignitas, and that is a problem.
Yeah, once the dash taunt is down from Genocide, there goes any sort of engage or peeling. Coming back from the sky, Fearno immediately taken out. Those are 2 Phoenixes gone, and the Titan looks to be like the next and last target coming out of Noble.
Big ultimate out of IFates right there to separate everybody from the Titan. 50% already on the main objective. It's going down totally. 25%. I'm yelling timber. Noble Esports blow this one up with a single team fight. 5-1 in 27 minutes of regulation play. Quignitas lose their first game of relegation.
It took 25 minutes before we saw an actual successful team fight between either of these 2 teams, but that just goes to show how careful these teams are playing trying to get into the SPL in North America.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, like we said, a single fight blows this one open. We'll take a closer look at how that all went down here in a moment. ManRay on the Vulcan. Fires trying to confirm this portal demon.
And watch Stealth coming underneath right side of those Harpies. He uses that Supernova over the wall, but it wasn't enough. That Vulcan tournament just not enough. Look at Aquarius diving the backline with the Eagles rally. He was able to confirm the kill onto Fearno and get ManRay completely out of the action. And 4-on-3 for Noble, successfully taking out Fates.
Yeah, I think when it comes down to it, totally was just mistiming. Quignitas had a very good team 5 minutes before this team fight.
Yes.
Right? With the Fearno Evils, make those rotations a little bit earlier. Quignitas, no slouch, but they do wind up falling down to Noble Esports. That puts a win in the hands of Flashpoint and Noble. Quig and Gatekeepers fall, unfortunately, to their opposition. And moving on, we do have a couple of more matches. Noble's coming up next. Do you think they can keep it up?
It's going to be against Flashpoint, so I believe it's going to be a very interesting matchup. Two of the SPL teams, both of them with victories right now, trying to get that important second win. You get this win, and you're guaranteed at least a tiebreaker situation.
Two SPL teams with two very different rosters go head-to-head. We'll be back right here on hi-rez TV.
Outside my window, I try to see where my luck goes. I just don't know how it slips up. There must be some kind of black hole in this house. Every person could be you though.